So, my wife and I attended a symphony yesterday in the lovely town of Vancouver, Washington. And being my first symphony, I didn't understand several things. One is every time the conductor does a piece, he hurries off the stage and disappears, but not for long. And then moments later, he reappears, and everybody in the audience claps like they've never seen him before, or like they are amazed he was able to endure the hardships to be able to get back in time for the next piece to be played. Period. Don't get me wrong, he did a very nice job, but I didn't understand the whole everybody clapping and standing and clapping. And the gal playing the piano, the soloist in the first symphony, I guess is what you call it, the first half before intermission, did a beautiful job. And we all stood and clapped and clapped and clapped and clapped and clapped. And of course, after her piece was done, her and the conductor disappeared. And then they stood off stage for maybe 35 or 40 seconds, and then they came back. And I told my wife that maybe he had to go get her, and she was lost. And then they came back on stage, and we clapped some more. She sat down at the piano, did another piece, and then got up and hurried off the stage. And then she came back after much clapping and standing and yelling and whooping and hollering. Okay, not a lot of whooping and hollering at symphonies, as you know. But after much clapping and mental pleading, she came back and did another one. And then she left. And after she left, we all stood and clapped again and again and again. And I told my wife, is she going to come back? And she said, no. I said, what do you mean, no? How do you know? She said, because she doesn't. So there must be an unwritten rule about how many standing ovations somebody comes back to participate in. It must be a maximum of 2, because after that, she didn't come out again. And then we took a short intermission, and then the orchestra played. And the second symphony had 4 movements. And I was amazed that after each movement, and I was described this, my wife described this to me, that the conductor would not lower his hands, which means it's not done or don't clap or something. But it was just the stage, or the audience was silent. And I was surprised that somebody just didn't stand up or start clapping anyway, because it seemed the whole night to be begging for clapping after everybody finished something, and yet not this time. Anyway, it was really bizarre. I didn't get it. And after the 4th movement, we all stood and clapped and clapped and clapped and clapped and clapped, and the conductor was gracious and walked around and pointed to each different group, and they all stood up, and then we clapped more, and then clapped more, and we clapped for everybody on the stage, everybody, except for the stagehand, who did an awesome job of switching the stage or getting rid of the stage after he moved the piano during the intermission. And then he brought out a little stage with a railing on it. I guess that's to keep the conductor from falling off when he addresses the crowd, which he didn't do much, but anyway, nice symphony, but maybe there could be rules listed when you get it, for the new person like myself, the novice, the noob, that could read it and understand it and make sense of everything. I did point it out to my wife that I thought it'd be funny if all concerts did this. Like you go to a rock concert and you get a program ahead of time, and it says, during this 4 or 5 piece or song set, they'll be doing this. And it'll be mild rock and followed by some of these things. And then the next set will be this. And then the next set will be this, followed by this. And there's going to be very hard rock, and there will be guitars and things clashing and much screaming and yelling and jumping up and down and fire and smoke and things coming out. And maybe even if you do a country western concert, they'll have some songs, and all the different songs. You will lose your dog during this song, and then the next song you lose your truck and your house because your former spouse has decided to keep them when she asks you to move out. Anyway, just some interesting thoughts. Let me know what you think on the whole symphony. If you've been to a symphony, this was my first one. And you can tell by the color of my hair that I've been on this planet for 56 and a half rotations around the sun, as my brother so eloquently describes it, which is 55 and a half times around the sun. So you can figure that out. Anyway, it was a good concert, a good symphony, and enjoyed it. And I bought a couple waters at intermission because I have a tendency to cough when my throat gets dry. And I took them into the whatever, not the stadium, but the hall. And then I offered my wife a drink, and she said, "Oh my gosh, we're not supposed to have water in here." Well, when I picked the water bottles up and bought them and brought them in, nobody said anything. I walked past probably 10 people. Not one of them said, "Hey, you can't have water in here." Maybe it was just assumed, and I was too brain damaged for them to say anything to. Anyway, your thoughts would be appreciated as usual, and I will let you go. Thank you much.